Imagine being born into unimaginable wealth, having access to everything money can buy, private jets, mansions, the finest education, and then choosing to walk away from it all. Today, Vivian Jenna Wilson, formerly known as Xavier Musk, lives in a cramped apartment with 3 roommates. She works ordinary jobs to pay her bills, and despite being the daughter of the world's richest man, she claims she's essentially broke. This isn't just another story about family drama in Silicon Valley. This is about identity, authenticity, and the price of standing up for who you really are, even when it means losing everything. Let's dive into one of the most compelling and heartbreaking family stories of our time. It all started 18 years ago when Elon Musk was just another ambitious entrepreneur with big dreams. Back then, he wasn't the polarizing figure we know today. He was a father, excited about expanding his family with his then-wife, Justine. When the twins were born in 2004, Xavier and Griffin Musk entered a world most people can only dream of. Their father was building PayPal, Tesla was just a startup, and SpaceX was launching its first rockets into the sky. These weren't just children, they were heirs to a growing empire. But here's what the headlines never told you about those early years, behind the gleaming facade of Silicon Valley's success. A young child was quietly struggling with something much deeper than anyone realized. While the world saw Xavier Musk, the privileged son of a tech mogul, inside that child was someone entirely different, trying to emerge. Growing up in the Musk household meant living under constant scrutiny. Every family dinner could end up as a news story. Every school event had security considerations. And for a young person already questioning their identity, this fishbowl existence made everything infinitely more complicated. Friends who knew the family during those years remember Xavier as incredibly bright, just like their father. But there was always something different, a quiet intensity, a sense that this kid was carrying something heavy that no one else could quite understand. The first cracks in the family foundation started appearing long before anyone knew about Xavier's gender identity. Elon and Justine's marriage was falling apart. The pressure of building multiple companies, the constant travel, the media attention, it was taking its toll on everyone. In 2008, when Xavier was just 4 years old, their parents divorced. Imagine being a young child, already confused about your own identity, watching your family implode in front of the entire world. The divorce wasn't quiet or private. It was messy, public, and brutal. Justine later wrote about feeling like she'd been erased from Elon's narrative. She described how difficult it was to maintain any sense of normalcy for the children, while their father's career skyrocketed into the stratosphere. But for Xavier, the real struggle was just beginning. As the years passed, Xavier grew up watching their father become increasingly controversial. The Twitter acquisition, the political comments, the public feuds, each headline, each controversy, each viral moment added another layer of complexity to an already impossible situation. Because here's the thing, nobody talks about when your parent is constantly in the news. You don't get the luxury of figuring out who you are in private. By the time Xavier reached their teenage years, 2 things had become crystal clear. First, they were transgender. And second, their father's increasingly vocal opinions about LGBTQ+ issues were making their life unbearable. Picture this moment. You're 16 years old. You finally found the courage to live authentically. You've chosen a new name, Vivian Jenna Wilson, taking your mother's maiden name. You've legally changed your gender marker. You're ready to step into the world as your true self. And then your father, the man who's supposed to love and support you unconditionally, starts making public statements that feel like they're aimed directly at your heart. The breaking point came in 2022. Elon had been increasingly vocal about what he called the woke mind virus. He'd made comments about pronouns, about transgender rights, about issues that weren't abstract policy debates. For Vivian, they were her lived reality. In July of that year, Vivian made a decision that would change everything. She filed legal papers to change her name and cut all ties with her father. The reason she gave was brutally simple. I no longer live with or wish to be related to my biological father in any way, shape, or form. Those words weren't just legal language. They were a daughter's final goodbye to the man who gave her life but couldn't accept who she'd become. Think about that for a moment. Imagine having to legally disown your own father. Imagine being so desperate to live authentically that you'd rather have nothing than pretend to be someone you're not. That's exactly what Vivian did. The aftermath was swift and devastating. Almost overnight, Vivian went from being an heir to one of the world's largest fortunes to being, well, nobody. At least in terms of wealth and privilege. She moved out of the family estates. No more private jets. No more unlimited credit cards. No more safety net worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Instead, she found herself doing what millions of young people do every day, looking for roommates, working regular jobs, trying to figure out how to pay rent. But here's what makes Vivian's story so remarkable. She doesn't seem to regret it. According to recent reports, Vivian now lives with 3 roommates in what she describes as a modest apartment. She works part-time jobs to cover her expenses. She takes public transportation. She shops at regular grocery stores with coupons, and by all accounts, she's single quotes as ... happy. Friends describe her as more at peace than she's ever been. Free from the constant pressure of being Elon Musk's son, free from having to pretend to be someone she's not. Free from the toxic dynamic that had been poisoning her life for years, but it came at a price that few people could even comprehend. The financial aspect is just the surface, though the real cost has been emotional. Vivian has spoken about the grief of losing her father, not to death, but to ideology. She's talked about the pain of watching someone you love become someone you can't even recognize. It's like watching someone die while they're still alive. She's reportedly said to close friends, "The person who used to read me bedtime stories, that person doesn't exist anymore." These aren't the words of an angry teenager rebelling against authority. These are the words of someone who's experienced profound loss. The loss of a parent who chose their public persona over their child's well-being. Meanwhile, Elon has made his own statements about the situation. He's claimed that his child was killed by the woke mind virus. He suggested that he was somehow tricked into supporting Vivian's transition. But here's what those statements reveal: a complete inability to understand that his child didn't disappear, she finally appeared. Xavier never died. Xavier was never real in the first place. Vivian was always there, waiting for the courage and opportunity to emerge. And when she finally did emerge, her father couldn't see her. The contrast between their two worlds couldn't be starker. While Elon continues to accumulate wealth and influence, posting on social media platforms he owns and making headlines with every word, Vivian lives quietly, working ordinary jobs and finding joy in simple things. She's found community among other young transgender women who understand her journey. She's built friendships based on authenticity rather than net worth. She's learning skills that most people her age take for granted: budgeting, grocery shopping, navigating public transportation. In many ways, she's living the life that most young adults live, except she chose it, walking away from billions too. Find it, what makes this story so compelling isn't just the money or the celebrity drama. It's what it reveals about the price of authenticity in a world that often rewards performance over truth. Vivian could have stayed. She could have played the role of dutiful son, collected her inheritance, lived comfortably for the rest of her life. All she had to do was continue pretending to be someone she wasn't. Instead, she chose something that took infinitely more courage. She chose to be herself, regardless of the cost. Today, as Vivian navigates her new life, she represents something powerful for an entire generation of young people who are watching. She's proof that it's possible to choose authenticity over convenience, truth over wealth, identity over inheritance. She's also a reminder of how quickly privilege can disappear when it comes with conditions you can't accept. But perhaps most importantly, she's shown that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from everything you've ever known to find out who you really are. The story of Vivian Jenna Wilson is still being written. She's only 20 years old, building a life on her own terms, one day at a time. She may be sharing an apartment with roommates instead of living in a mansion. She may be working part-time jobs instead of running companies. She may be taking buses instead of private jets, but she's free, and sometimes that's worth more than all the money in the world. What do you think about Vivian's choice? Could you walk away from everything for the chance to live authentically? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that matter.